Hey Quilters, I have a full tutorial for you today on this gorgeous, gorgeous quilt pattern that I just finished. This is a work in progress that I have been working on for about a month now. It's kind of been on my list and I am so happy that it's finally finished. I just pulled it off my long arm. As you can see, I still have to add that binding to the edge, but that's not going to take me too long at all because I am pumped. This quilt came out gorgeous. It's not my pattern, so I can't give you all the measurements while I'm doing this. I like to respect the work of other creators in this quilting community, but I can show you step by step how to put it together. And then I will leave a link down in the description box down below this video so that you can go and download that pattern that gives you all the measurements and everything you need. But wait till I show you how easy this quilt is to put together. It's gonna blow your mind. These are all of the pieces cut to the right size to make one block from the pattern, okay? Now I am using scraps from my previous project that's already all done to show you how to make this block. So I think these are a little bit wider than these, but in any case, the way that this comes together is going to be the same no matter what your measurements are. Again, you can find the exact measurements for this block in the pattern that you'll find underneath this video in the description box. So what you start out with is a half square triangle, and there are directions for how to complete this step in the pattern as well. But I'm starting out with a half square triangle already sewn. And then we are going to do almost like a, let's say a faux log cabin here is what I'm going to call this. Okay. So the first step I'm going to do is I'm going to sew this to here. And then I'm going to sew this to here. So remember, in a log cabin, you just kind of go around and you keep going around and around and around. And you're going to measure from here to here. And that's going to be like the first side, then here to here. Now, the reason that like this is showing up and I've got kind of this like wonky stair step thing in here is why? Is because when I sew this to this, I'm going to lose a ½ inch, right? A quarter inch on this side and a quarter inch on this side because I'm going to put these together. I'm going to sew them, and then this is not the best way to do it, but there you go. And then they should be pretty close to the right size. So what I have is all of these are cut to the right size, but they are taking into account that I am losing my quarter inch here, I'm losing my quarter inch here, I'm losing my well, actually ½ inch, but you know, quarter inch on either side, right? And then these pieces right here that I have to the side, these are going to be the caps that I have on all of them, as you can see here in the finished quilt, right? I would definitely say this is, let's say, not like your very first quilt that you've ever made, but pretty early on in the process, you could make this quilt. So let's go, and we're going to go step by step, and we're going to put this block together. The first pieces that I'm going to grab are my half square triangle, and this can be done scrappy. This can be done nice and laid out and planned out the way that I have it. You can kind of let your mind think about that for a little bit and decide how you want to do it. But the first pieces that I'm going to need this one. I'm going to need this one. I'm going to need this one, and I'm going to need one of my pieces here. Let's take that over to the sewing machine and I will show you how to put it together. Here are my pieces here. I'm going to kind of put them back out how I had them so I can remember exactly the way that they go. In my pretend design here, I decided that the yellow was at the top corner here. And so I am just going to do a regular log cabin. I am going to stitch across here using quarter inch as my regular seam, keeping my pieces together right here. There, that's done. And now I'm going to do a finger press right here on my seam. I've got my iron set up here behind me, but it's not turned on yet. So I'm just going to do a finger press on this seam. You'll notice that when I was sewing, I did not back stitch at either the beginning or the end of my piecing here. I make sure that when I'm sewing, my stitch length is set to a very, very small stitch. Okay, that is going to make it much easier to just
start sewing and keep going, and my pieces are not going to fall apart. Okay. So if I do like usually like a 1.8 to a 2 is what I do my piecing on. Sometimes I'll go even a little bit smaller if the fabric is very thin. Okay. But that makes it to where I don't have to back stitch at the beginning or at the end. Okay. So I am going to sew down this side right here, and then I'm going to press. Okay. So don't think that I'm not pressing this entire project. I am pressing. I'm just going to wait until after I get this seam done. And that is your standard log cabin block right there. Very, very simple. So now I'm going to take this over and I am going to press it with my iron. Here is my block, nice and pressed. Now on the back, I'm just going to show you what I did here for the seams. I just pushed my seams to the side. Okay. I didn't bother with opening because, I didn't want to. Okay, I didn't want to. So I just pressed them to the side. It's nice and even. Now you're going to take the little blocks, okay, and you're going to do a line straight down the middle. I always like to use my friction pins for this. You'll have to excuse me, the light is a little bit weird today in the sewing room. It's kind of cloudy outside. But I like to use my friction pins for this because they erase with heat. But really and truly, any marking tool will work on the back of these because it's not going to be seen in your quilt. Okay. I would just kind of like, advise against like using a lead pencil or something, that if this is going to be like a child blanket. This ruler, I get questions about this all the time too. It is called a Quilters Magic Wand. Can you see that right there? And it is just it's just a straight ruler. But it makes doing half square triangles really easy, and it's just something that's very thin, and I don't have to fuss with it very much when I'm doing short little rulers markings like this. Okay, so I'm just doing a straight line down the middle of my square like this, right? I'm going to lay this on my piece. Let me show you where I'm at right now, okay? See where I put those two pieces just a minute ago? I'm going to lay this on my piece, right sides together. And then I'm going to stitch right on top of that line. And there it is. Now, you could go and do the math and figure out how to, sew an extra line here and have another little half square triangle there if you want to go and do this really fancy. I just want to make it nice and easy on myself, right? So now that I've sewn down that line there, I'm going to go to my sewing machine. I'm going to press this right here. And then after I press it, because I want to make sure that these line up in the back. Okay, this is going to help keep your piece nice and square. I'm going to go and press this, and then after that I will go and I will trim this piece right here, and then we'll move on to the next pieces.
And that's the only steps that there are for this block. Honestly, it's that simple. You start like you're going to do a log cabin piece, and you just do two sides of it, and then you add that little cap on the end. And the way that this comes out so finished and beautiful is absolutely amazing. So you've already learned the two steps. This is me just sewing the rest of the block together, finishing it up, ironing it in between in the steps like I told you before. And it's amazing, right? So I love that you could take this concept and turn it into all kinds of different ways. Now this is called a Chicago Geese. I didn't name it. I'm not really sure why it's called a Chicago Geese, but the steps are very simple, and this block is now one of my favorite blocks. So you could take this and you could kind of like expand it and do some other things and create your own block ideas with this.
So you know that my background is in graphic arts and graphic design. I'm going to show you using the program on my computer, how you can change this and how color and all of that makes a big difference when you're doing this pattern. So this is what our block looks like, right? You know, we've got the little triangles coming up here, the little end caps, right? And then we've got these. You can see in this picture right here, if you change them to a different color, it certainly changes the way that the block looks just by changing one piece of fabric. Okay, the rest of the piece is exactly the same, but just by changing that one piece of fabric, it really changes things throughout the entire quilt, the way it looks, right? So let's look at some different layouts that you can use using this one block. This right here uses the same block in the same placement every single time. Now this is a square quilt. You can go and you can add more blocks to the side. You can add more to the bottom, however you like. But this is the exact same setup, okay? Now, if you want to take these blocks and turn them, I have a couple different suggestions here. Now, what I want you to focus on, which makes this much easier, is you focus on this corner black one or whichever one this is. So I've been focusing on the corners to make it easier. So here we brought all 4 corners together. And then on the end here, to create this like echoing effect that we have right here, we brought these together, okay? And then we kept these 4 in the middle, right? And then the outside ones are just, you know, you could... let me turn this around. You could go and turn it this way if you like. That would add some little differences in here. So normally I don't do this on the computer. I would sit here and I would do this on my actual design board when I've got all my blocks laid out. But I want to show you, because this is a lot quicker, you know, how you can change the look of your piece just by changing up the way that you do your block. We've kind of created this little zigzag effect in the corner as opposed to just the echoing, okay? Let's look at another one. This one, I did the opposite with the center squares, okay? And here, I had all the black ones at the very center of the quilt, and here, I'm putting all of the black ones on the outside of the block up here, okay? All of these stayed the same. On the outside, all I did was change these ones in the middle around. Okay, so now I've got this focus here, and you get kind of like a double layer effect here of the echoing that's happening. I think this one is a really cool one. I might do that for another one. This one is one that I came up with while I was working on figuring out how I wanted my quilt block to look, and I started changing things from the outside of the previous quilt that I just showed you. Okay, so this is everything on these 4 blocks right here is the same. I just took and I changed these around to where I brought these 2, the light purplish ones together, right here on these 4. And then on this one, I left it here. So it almost created like a 3D effect. It's really kind of cool. I think if you did this in some like bright neon colors, this would be wild. And obviously you don't have to use these colors, but if you did something similar, or you did something in prints, or you did something, you know, more Americana themed or whatever, I'm just giving you layout ideas for how to use this one block that we've created to make several different types of quilts. If you want to do it very simple and a little bit more traditional like, I made these 4 blocks right here, and I just did 4 of them, okay? Same number of blocks in every single one that I'm showing you right now. Same number of blocks. Just it's 4 by 4. Okay, there. Same number of blocks. And then what I ended up doing on my quilt, which again, here is the finished picture of my quilt and how everything came together. I really love the way that mine came out too, but I was experimenting with things, and this is what I did with mine. Now, I will tell you, this looks like crazy town compared to what my actual finished quilt looked like. But what I did, and you can see right here, there's these 2 light blue ones are coming together with the 2 black ones on either side of it. Same thing here, but they're going a different way because I've got a black one here and I've got a black one here. And these 2 blue ones are coming together right there. And that's all I did, was I just made sure that these 2 came together and these 2 came together. And I just worked my way around. Now, if I wanted to, I could take this one and turn it around. And this one and turn it around. And look how easy and how similar that is to this one right here that I just showed you, right? But I decided I didn't want this blocking traditional look to my quilt. So I took these and I did every other one and I simply turned them around, which gave this, like I said, looks a little bit crazy town. But again, in my finished quilt, it looked so beautiful the way that it was done. I fell in love with it. Yeah, hopefully that helps kind of spark your inspiration and give you some more ideas on how you can take that same block and make your own quilt. Here's a look at what I did for the backing of the quilt. I love, love, love this fabric. And then I used Tula Pink's brand new quilting designs on my quilt. This is the beautiful Fairy Dust Sparkles Sparrow. You will recognize this if you're a Tula Pink fan. I used a very light colored thread because, again, the front of the quilt was just so beautiful, but I really wanted to show off this pattern as well because, oh, I love it. I cannot wait to do more quilts with this exact same quilting design.
So what did I tell you? Isn't it just the best when something looks complicated? It looks like you put a whole lot of thought into it. It looks like, oh my gosh, you're amazing. And I mean, you absolutely are amazing, right? But I love these quilt patterns, how they come together, and it just, like, all the sparkles, right? Like all the sparkles, all the glitter, all the things happen and make you look like a fantastic, amazing quilter. And that's what this Chicago Geese block pattern turns out to be. Now, I showed you some different ways that you can kind of make this pattern your own. By changing the way that the blocks come together, you can really change the entire look of this quilt pattern. And those patterns, I love them. They hold a special place in my heart. So I hope that you enjoyed today's video, and I hope that you will go on and download the pattern. The link is in the description box down below for this. It is beautiful. The instructions are very clear on this pattern, and I cannot wait to see the wonderful things that you're going to create in this pattern. If you enjoyed today's video, please make sure that you subscribe to my channel. I have new videos coming out every single week, and I would love to share my quilting tips, tricks, and tutorials with you. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments down below. I'd be happy to answer them. Or if you have any suggestions on tutorials and things that I can work on for other videos for you, I would love to hear those as well. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I'll see you next week. I'm Kristen with icystarsquilting.com. Have a great day and sew something beautiful today. Bye.